I keep telling her.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here for this information session about Broad Futures. We're going to be talking about our 2025 programming. We will go through some details about our program, hopefully answer a lot of your questions, and we'll definitely have time at the end if there are still things that you are curious about. So just to ground us before we get started, I'll introduce myself and then we'll ground us in what Broad Futures is. So I'm Caitlin Garman. I'm our Director of Admissions and Outreach, and we've got two other staff members here. So I'll have India introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is India Moore, and I'm the Program Associate at Broad Futures. So I've served as a mentor for our summer and winter programs. Thank you for joining us.
And we've also got Carolyn with us here today.
Hi, everyone. I am Carolyn Jepson. I serve as the CEO and president, and I'm one of the co-founders of Broad Futures. That we started this organization over 10 years ago with the feeling that the population we serve was not being properly served. And so here we are. And I myself am a parent of two children who identify as neurodivergent.
Thanks, Carolyn, for joining us today. So just to ground us in what we are all doing here at Broad Futures, we really have two main purposes. Our first is to provide these excellent work experiences for our young neurodivergent folks and to really give them access and opportunity to grow professionally. And the second is we do a lot of work on the employer side, coaching and working with our employers to make sure that they are creating inclusive and supportive environments. And so what Carolyn touched on a little bit, why we're here, we know that right now, current statistics say 1 in 5 individuals are neurodivergent. We know that's probably a lot more folks, right? Because folks go undiagnosed all the time. And unfortunately, outcomes for our neurodivergent young people are just not as strong as for their neurotypical peers in both post-secondary education and full-time employment. And so we are here at Broad Futures to help close that gap, to help give our young people the skills and experiences they need to pursue their passions and to be successful in the workplace. So we're going to talk about our DC program a little bit, and you can see here that we really focus on a couple of things. We want to build independence and confidence with our young folks and also give them some of those transferable skills that they'll be able to take with them. So whether they're going on to college or going to another job, we want to make sure that we're equipping them with the skills that they need to be successful. So on the right side of the screen here, you can see some details about our DC program. So this runs twice a year in the winter and in the summer. And during our program, our young folks are in internships for the majority of the time. So they're in an internship 4 days a week. And we'll talk a little bit later about what those internships are and how we match our young folks with our employers. But they're doing that for roughly 20 hours a week. All of our internships are right here in DC, all metro accessible, and they are all paid. Before they go to their internships, we do a week of comprehensive training, and then we have our interns come back to us every Friday for additional training. India is going to talk to you about what that curriculum looks like in a little bit and share with you about some of the skills that we're helping our interns build. The other big piece of our program is that all throughout the internship, our young folks are getting individualized mentoring. And so India will also tell you a little bit more about that, but they're meeting with their mentor several times a week. They're working on their professional goals and getting a lot of real-time, in-the-moment feedback about how they're doing in their job. Our DC program does have a participation fee. However, we do have a robust scholarship program. And so we'll talk about both of those things a little bit later, and also happy to answer questions about those at the end of our presentation. All right, so let's talk about who our interns are. So our interns are 18 to 26 years old. If you are a younger person, or if you're the parent of a younger person, we do have folks apply before they turn 18. We just need them to be 18 when they're in the program. So if they are 17 right now, but they're going to turn 18 next May, totally fine. They would be eligible for our summer program. We also, as we've talked about before, we're working with young folks who are neurodivergent. So that means we're looking at young folks who have a diagnosis of a learning disability, ADHD, or autism. We also want to make sure that our interns have either a high school diploma or a GED by the time the program starts. So again, Folks are welcome to apply when they're a senior in high school before they have that diploma, as long as they're on track to get that diploma before the program starts. We also use this phrase college capable. Many of our interns are headed to college or are in college. It's not a requirement, but we use that phrase to really talk about the level of communication and reading and writing skills that we need from our interns, because they are going to be at their job site independently. That goes to our next point, that our interns do need to be able to work without constant supervision. So we provide lots of support and mentoring, but we're not on site at the jobs every day. So our interns need to be able to travel to their work site on their own. They need to be able to communicate with their manager, complete the daily tasks, those things independently. We're also looking for folks who are motivated to be part of our program. So I like to call our program Internship Plus, right? It's not just a work experience, it's a work experience plus mentoring, plus training. And so we want folks who want to be part of this cohort, learning and growing together, and really want to take advantage of our mentorship opportunities. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to India to talk you all through a little bit of our approach. Everything we do is designed to target our young folks who we know have diverse learning needs. So India is going to walk you through a little bit of our curriculum and our peer mentoring model, and then I'll come back and talk to you about our employer support and our intern matching.
Thank you, Caitlin. Yeah, so now that you all have a better idea of who it is we're serving, I want to give a broader picture of what training actually looks like. So Caitlin mentioned this earlier, but we begin the program with an initial training week. So that's 5 days in office with our staff, working on team building, going through curriculum that I'll get into later. But the purpose of this training week is to build that flexibility and teamwork, and also to experience a simulation of what the workplace will actually look like. We do this by providing different interactive sessions that involve the arts, yoga mindfulness, as well as theater and role play. When people hear theater, it's not acting per se, so much as simulating those role play situations. For example, small talk. That's a skill that can be learned and practiced, and having that back and forth theater and gameplay allows interns to do that in a risk-free environment where we're having fun and we're also learning really important skills. So yeah, those are some core aspects of our training. And then to get more specific around communication and professionalism. So communication is the basis of all of our curriculum. So we're trying to build concrete skills that are transferable to work situations, to school, to life, just whatever environment our interns are seeking to go into next. So we want to empower them with these tools to be independent, confident, and to be able to communicate their needs and receive feedback, and then implement that in the workplace. So with all of that said, our curriculum is built around lessons regarding perspective taking, attitude and engagement, self-advocacy, and teamwork, sort of working together throughout the 8 to 10 weeks that they're with us to really hone in on these different areas in order to excel in their internship, but more than that, beyond to whatever job, career, or life path they choose to take afterwards. So this slide just sort of covers the career readiness curriculum and breaks it down. We have different modules or lessons that we go through. Just like everything else, it's very interactive. It's not interns sitting down and, receiving a lecture. We have interactive games. We have lots of peer-to-peer learning that's involved in this. But this list just runs through different examples of what the career readiness, more concrete aspects are. How to dress for success. If this is your first work experience ever, like what does business casual mean? How can we break that down? We also have a ton of mock interview sessions throughout our program. We even have external partners come in to help conduct mock interviews so that interns feel really confident and can have more formalized practice with that. We have a financial literacy component, And then we also touch upon topics such as disability pride and leadership. So executive functioning and skill building is what connects all of the different aspects of our curriculum. I'll get into this more in the next slide, but interns all have goals that they highlight for themselves to specifically hone in on for the entirety of the program. And these goals and the strategies all revolve around executive functioning skills. So if time management is something that you really seek to improve upon, you can highlight that as a goal of yours without sacrificing learning about the other executive functioning skills. So each week there's a different focus. So week 2 of training might be task initiation, and how do I like I'm okay around sort of completing it once I get started, but how do I initiate a task, right? So that can be a theme or subject of the training week, so that every intern gets practice on all of these skills and they don't have to pick one over the other. All right, and this slide just walks us through the intern support model, starting with the intake and onboarding and then going all the way through to the very end of the program. At the very start, before the internship begins, before the program even begins, we have intake meetings with all of our interns to get to know them better and hear from them what their areas of strength are and what areas they still would like support in. Based on that conversation, we create with them 2 different goals that are their main objectives to work on throughout the program. So just like the previous slide, it might be task prioritization. It might be something like small talk and networking. So we identify those areas with them, and the we of that, to clarify, is their mentor and coach. So every intern is assigned a mentor and a coach that works very closely with them throughout the program. And in that second box, you can sort of see that spelled out more clearly. Every intern will have a mentor check-in meeting twice a week, and that's just a space for interns to open up about what they might find challenging at their workplace, where they want support, and just how they're doing, how they're acclimating. And then the mentor is able to communicate with them, okay, what are different strategies that we've highlighted? What has been successful so far? And what can we sort of work on to continue working towards those final goals? And throughout this time, interns are getting a lot of feedback in real time from their mentor and also from their employer. So we work closely with employers, which Caitlin will touch on shortly, but interns receive assessments from their employer so that they can see from the perspective of their supervisor, how am I doing in this area, and how can I continue improving? So a lot of it is about feedback and constantly working towards these goals and implementing new strategies with the support of a mentor throughout that process to make it really tangible. And then at the end of the program, every intern gets a final report that documents their trajectory throughout our program, of sort of how they've grown in their skills, what sort of successes they've had, and they get all of that packaged for them in a final report from our staff, along with a collection of the assessments from their employer. And yeah, and then towards the end of that, there are still alumni supports. Even once someone has left our program, we still provide a lot of resources and opportunities for engagement, even once they've successfully completed the Broad Futures program term. Great, and I'll pass it back over to Caitlin.
Awesome. Thanks, India. So as India mentioned, we also are doing throughout this process, we are supporting on the employer side. So our coaches are working closely with the managers at our employer sites to, again, just give them strategies about how to make their workplace more accommodating and really help problem solve. So if an intern is having a problem completing tasks or getting things done on time, the mentor is over here working with the intern on strategies, and our coach is working with the employer. Maybe there's a different way we can be presenting information. Maybe there's a different way to break tasks down. So we're really coming at it from both ends to make sure that our interns are successful and that our employers are happy. All right, the internship matching. This is what a lot of folks are most interested in. So when a young person applies to Broad Futures, they are applying to our program sort of holistically. You're not applying to a specific internship. So what we do is we take a look at all of our employer partners. And at this point, we've partnered with more than 65 employers in the DC area. And so we take a look at which employers are willing to sponsor an intern for a particular program. And then we see what they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for someone with a particular set of skills or experiences. And we look at what are the tasks going to be at that internship site. And then through our application and interview process, we're talking with young people about what their interests are, what their skills and experiences are, maybe what coursework they've had or what past jobs they've had, kind of working environment they want to be in. What is the kind of career that they want to have? And then we internally use all that information to match our interns with an employer partner. And then we let our interns know where they've been matched. And then that kicks off the whole process that India talked a little bit about with the onboard meeting and the goal setting and all of that. It is an internal process because it's a little complicated, right? We have to balance both what our employers need and what our interns want and are good at. But we have been doing this for a very long time, and we are very successful at making these matches. And also, it's helpful to work a little bit. It forces our interns to be a little flexible sometimes, right? Maybe you came into this thinking you were going to have a specific type of internship, and we placed you somewhere maybe you didn't think you were going to end up, and it ends up being a really great experience for you. This shows a little bit about our internships. Around the outside, you can see just a few examples of our internship partners and how broad they are. So we've got, Senate offices on there and also Colonial Parking. We like to bucket our internships into 4 general categories. Most of our internships fall into these categories. So, we're in DC, so we've got that policy, advocacy, government, nonprofit, think tank. We've got a lot of internships in that area. We also have our stuff for our STEM folks. We've got IT, computer science, and engineering. We have a big pot of employers that fit into the hospitality, so hotels, restaurants, things like that. Those are often great options for our younger interns who maybe don't have any work experience or just looking to sort of get their toes wet in the working world. Then we also have a chunk of internships in communications, design, and marketing. All right, so let's take a moment and hear from our interns what they have to say about our programming.
Broad Futures changed my life.
Broad Futures definitely did change my life.
The spring semester of my junior year, I was super frustrated, super low confidence, and I didn't understand how to navigate the academic world. And then I found Broad Futures the summer of 2015.
Broad Futures made me more open.
Broad Futures helped me develop my skills for the workforce, become a better self-advocate, and improve my communication skills.
Broad Futures has made it a lot of fun to work in general. I never thought that I would like this job that I'm in, but I love it.
Broad Futures has made me more confident, social, and independent in the workplace.
Broad Futures helped me embrace my disability. Broad Futures made me more aware of what I'm looking for in a career.
My internship at Broad Futures at the APA definitely helped me to feel a lot less pressure to be a perfectionist about things that didn't matter, and I was able to kind of feel really comfortable just doing things my own way.
I bring enthusiasm to work.
I tend to have a lot of creative problem-solving skills, and I'm not afraid to change the status quo in terms of using those skills.
I'm strong-willed, I'm determined, and I'm ready to work.
Broad Futures changed my life.
Always fun to hear from our interns. Those are some of our previous participants and everything that they've gained from our program. So I want to revisit this scholarship and housing support piece that I touched on earlier. So we do have a robust scholarship program and meet 100% of demonstrated financial need. We try to keep our program fees as low as possible to make sure our program is accessible to lots of folks. For those of you who might be from out of town, and we've seen some folks in the chat from Seattle and Canada and all over the place, while we do not provide housing, we do have a housing resource guide and relationships with lots of local entities, colleges, universities, et cetera, that have intern housing. So if you are coming from out of town, it's a great experience to spend some time in DC, and we will certainly support you in that process along finding housing. Just want to touch quickly on some of the outcomes in our program. We have been at this a long time. We have been doing this for 10 years. At this point, we've served close to 500 young people through 22 different programs and have some really, what I think are amazing outcomes. So 99% of our interns complete our program, and the vast, vast majority of them, 90%, go on to secure either employment or continue their education, which is just amazing given those statistics we talked about earlier at the start of the program and really wanting to close those gaps as compared to neurotypical peers. So some information, specific information for our 2025 DC programs. So we have our winter program, which will be January through April, and our summer program, June through August. So I want to make note of those application deadlines. So if you were looking at our winter program, the final deadline is November 1st. And if you're looking at our summer program, that final deadline is March 7th. We also have our cost on there for each of our programs. I want to make a note that our application is open year-round. So if I have sold you today on this program, you can apply now, right? You can apply whenever you would like to. We'll get in touch with you. We'll put you, if you apply early, we'll put you first on the interview slate. And all of this information is also on our website if you want to ever need to go back and check kind of when you need to fill out your application. Also want to take a moment to highlight our national programs. So our DC program is our largest program, and it happens every year, twice a year. But in this past year, we've partnered with some national companies to run smaller national programs. And so you can see at the bottom there some of the organizations that we have worked with and are working with this summer for smaller internship programs. So these are highly competitive programs that are a bit different than our DC-based program. And they are geared at folks who are in college or graduate school or have graduated, and they are very specific right now, usually in STEM. So these internship programs are looking for specific skills and coursework. They take place all over the country, depending on where the companies are located, and the timing varies a little bit. A couple of them are happening this summer, one happened last winter. And during this program, interns are paid, and they are getting remote support from us. There's also no cost to these programs. And so thus far, we've had a lot of success with our national partners. All of our interns have completed the program. All of our employers have been satisfied, and 70% of those interns have been given job offers after the internship. If this sounds like something that's interesting to you, I encourage you to head to our website and sign up for our newsletter, and then you'll be able to stay up to date on any of our national programs for 2025. All right, that brings us right to the end. So I want to highlight that you can get more information and apply to the program on our website. You're looking for that big orange button that says apply now. The application is pretty simple to get through. It asks for some demographic information, some information about your strengths and your interests. We ask that you provide a resume, proof of your disability, and 2 references. If you have any questions about that or not sure if you're a good fit, you are welcome to reach out to me. We'll make sure all of our information is in the chat at the end. But now we're going to pause recording and we will open it up to questions. Please feel free to come off mute or go ahead and put